Hi, my name's Rod Duncan, and I want to introduce you to my latest novel, which is The Queen of All Crows, which is the first in a new trilogy entitled The Map of Unknown Things. In one way, this novel is something of a love story of a kind, because it involves a person who is seeking out someone they've lost with almost a kind of madness, and that takes them to the far reaches of the earth. In another way, it's an alternate history, because it looks at a world in which science and technology have been held back at around the level of the end of the 19th century, even though it's reached pretty much the present day. And in another way, it's an adventure story, and some of it is an adventure on the high seas with pirates and great ships and possibly sea monsters. But at the heart of it all there lies a question, and that is, what would happen if the great continents of North and South America and the continents of Africa and Europe and Asia, on the other hand, were cut off, if communication across the Atlantic were severed? That is the unknown thing that is alluded to in the series title, The Map of Unknown Things. Now, there's a strange thing that happens sometimes when people are writing novels, and that is that things that seem to be purely fantasy when they're writing them soon after are revealed in the real world. It's happened many times to me, and it's quite a strange phenomena, and I know many other novelists that it also happens to. And this seems to have happened with The Queen of All Crows, because, strangely, in the last month there has been the beginning of a conversation made public in which people are starting to worry about the capability of Russian submarines to sever the communication cables between North America and Europe. So that's a kind of strange thing, and it's interesting that it's emerged here in this novel. If you want to start reading my work, my novels, then this is a good place to start. It is the beginning of a trilogy. But there are also 3 other novels that are an earlier trilogy called The Fall of the Gaslit Empire, which take place in the same world as this. I'm going to read to you the opening page, and it's a kind of introduction, I suppose, to some of the themes that are going to be in the whole series, The Map of Unknown Things. And this little piece right at the beginning is entitled The Airship American Frontier. For passengers on the AS American Frontier, at a cruising altitude of 8,000 feet, the moment the world changed was preceded by a vision of beauty. The shadow of their airship fleeting over moonlit cloud. Here and there the dark surface of the Atlantic was revealed in breaks between the white. From one such break came flashes like distant lightning. Passengers looked down in wonder through the cabin windows as bright streaks lanced up towards them. It was only when they heard the scream of bullets that panic set in. Impacts clattered against the engine and rear compartment. Then came the thuds of fatter, slower projectiles ripping into the canopy. The great machine tilted back and began to fall. Every loose thing slid or tumbled towards the rear of the carriages. Smoke poured from the engines as they battled the inevitable pull of gravity. From a distance, the end seemed slow, dreadfully slow, yet magnificent. In the vast span of the civilized world, no gun existed that could have brought down an airship from such a height, and it was inconceivable that one could have been manufactured in the chaos that lay beyond. Yet it happened, and the world changed. Some would later argue that the downing of the American frontier proved history to be a tide that no one could hold back. Others would cite it as evidence that change comes chaotically through the sparking genius of great minds. Afterwards.